Boom, 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 boom. Dog days of summer are here. Hey, let's do this, bro. Let's
Yes,
talk
dude.
about the season because it's going to come up fast.
All right, let's do it, man.
We got, I think, training camp probably starts when? The beginning of October. So,
Yeah,
3 weeks away, maybe?
something like
A
that.
little
Pretty
less.
close.
2 weeks away till training camp, probably.
Yeah, I think it's
All
like 2.5, 3, something like that.
All right,
Close
man.
enough to wherever.
That's the best part about FIBA is by the time that's over, you like look up and the season's right here.
Yeah, man. No doubt, dude.
I mean, that was a lot of fun.
I'm
still recovering sleep on it, but that's a lot of fun.
I'm excited about Paris, man. Like all the players that you're seeing that are coming out the from the U.S. side that are saying that we want to come back and do this. I think there's going to be a fine line of filling this team up with a bunch of veterans and filling them up with a bunch of veterans and a nice mix of young players. So again, I'm not. I would love to see 1 or 2 players from Oklahoma City in that Olympics, but it doesn't mean it will because all these players are coming out and saying that they're going. It's going to be interesting.
All right, let's flip it up, dude. Let's change the conversation. It just occurred to me based on what you were saying and based on our very limited experience with FIBA because we didn't watch all the games or all the teams or anything like that. But who, out of the players that you watched, would you get excited if the Thunder signed that is not currently in the NBA from FIBA? And then in that way, we could end up with another player in the Olympics. 2 players.
All right. So Reith was on my top of my list. I love that.
I know.
Dude. Yeah, right.
Australia.
Yeah,
Andrew
dude.
Gaze called him a modern Dennis Rodman-esque type defender. Dude, he
love
played
him, dude.
very, very well. Both ends of the floor.
Sucks that he's going to be in the NBA someplace else, but Portland is a good place for him to go because he'll get playing time.
I'm very happy for him.
You know what? I got to say is there was a couple players for
German
Serbia.
Serbia guy.
And there was a couple
Serbia
players.
Guy, the guy that you said he looked like a camel without a nose.
Yeah, dude. He was a 6th man. I love that dude. I love that guy. He was so weird looking, but he was so effective.
I can't remember names, so we can just remember their faces. Let's go with that.
There's also there's a couple guys that did not make the final tournament. Even there was a couple guys on Latvia that I liked. I can't even remember. He looked really, really young playing out there. Big man, or not big man, forward / shooting guard. He played a bunch of positions, really good at defense. I saw that. That was really nice to see. But all in all, there's probably 3 or 4 guys that I'm highlighting and I'm circling. I'm saying if they're available, I would love to get them. And I want to throw this out here is I've stepped back and I looked at the roster that we have this coming up year. The one thing I want to circle about this roster that I'm excited about is that it seems that Sam Presti has in a way started taking out some of the young players out of the equation by bringing Mistic, who's I believe is 29 years old, Bertans, who's 30 years old. He's aging this roster, even if ever so slightly. He's doing it in a very effective way. So I'm extremely excited about just seeing how these other players in other countries are coming out and playing. And not just that, but we'll have all these guys playing in Oklahoma City, and we'll be able to watch them in front of us as they lead our team, because I do believe that Mistic is going to do some crazy shit out there. And I do think that Bertans is going to be one of the best 3-point shooters from the corner this season. So if you look at it that, in that general direction, is that what Sam Presti has done, and by aging it, this roster is truly phenomenal. It's going to help us out a lot.
I agree, man. I think you got to mix in a guy like that we already have that I had never seen before, but he was on our team, Jack White.
Yeah, dude.
Jack White. I fell in love with him during FIBA, but
4 years of college. You got a couple years in the NBL. Got, I believe, G League experience as well as
NBA experience.
Man.
He played for the Nuggets, and he couldn't.
I think a couple games. I don't know if I would say.
Like I said, he couldn't crack the rotation.
Sure.
But in the end, like, look at that team; they're stacked. There's no doubt that it's difficult to crack the rotation on a team that.
I like his price tag too. I like the fact that he has a motor, big body. We need as many of those guys as we can, because I know for a fact that J.R. Reed, Jay Will, Chet, Poku are not going to go the entire season without at least one injury. So you have to have guys like Bertans that are going to be able to step up and play those minutes, and in Jack White that step up and play those minutes. It's crucial.
Man, a lot of love for the different styles that we saw play in FIBA. I know Coach Daignault was watching the games. I know Sam Presti was watching the games.
Sure.
We talked about the players that maybe we'd like to see, although we can't remember their names. I think his name is Otz from Germany. Like that'd be cool if we got him. There. So you kind of go down the list, and the other side of it is like from the Coach Daignault side. What do you think that we could learn about the game of basketball from FIBA and maybe offensive, defensive, stylistic changes that we could make adjustments on?
Well, I mean, first of all, what Sam Presti has done in seeing the future of what NBA basketball is going to be like is the most impressive thing of all. I mean, just think about that. He, for whatever reason, the last 20 something years has started growing his knowledge in the game. Ever since he started working for the Spurs, and now he's to that point where I don't know, man. He sees this and it's slowed down for him. A lot of guys spend 10 years in the league and the league starts slowing down and playing hoops. But Sam Presti, everything is starting to slow down. You look at how he's designed this team. You look at how he has created what he has created in Oklahoma City, and you start understanding the different levels of where Sam Presti's coming. What was your question again? Like, I want to make sure.
What about like Coach Daignault and the way he coaches? Maybe it could be improved from some of the stuff we saw from
the improvement.
Like specifically Serbia. I like their style of game, or Latvia. Like I know that we don't have all the shooters.
Look at how we run our defense already. It's very similar to some of these teams. You look at how we run our offense. It's very similar to some of these teams. Like in a way, Sam Presti has drafted this team and put this team together to be able to be successful to coach D for the new style of the NBA. We've been saying it for a while, the new style of the NBA. And the NBL really does a great job at providing us what the new style shall look like. You know, if we're talking the 10 Commandments right here, the NBL is a great example of what it will look like. But more so, but you look at FIBA and then you start looking at Latvia. You start looking at Serbia. You start looking at Germany.
That's what I want to talk about.
Slovenia even. And then you start understanding, like, maybe this is what Sam Presti's doing. This is what, Coach D is doing. They're growing this team to be like these other teams. And if you watch it, there's no way you can't deny the similarities.
And let's we can talk Germany and Serbia. They're in the finals. And how those games translate to the Thunder. First of all, Germany had Dennis Schroeder. And Dennis Schroeder, along with Tice and Otz, we mentioned, like, they played excellent. But I felt very familiar with a lot of what they did, except for some of the roles that those players played and were a little bit unusual for me. But, especially, but then you go to Serbia. And you realize maybe that we're actually all ready to play, actually about to play a lot more like Serbia than we know. Because we have two Serbian players on our team. We have Poku, who is, like, if you think about the way Poku played last year before he got hurt, and you think about what we saw with Serbia, don't you see a connection now?
I would say that you're absolutely right, but I would go one step further. I would say the combination of Serbia and Latvia is really the idea of Latvia would just shoot the fucking lights out. Mm-hmm. They would go for that open shot, and that's what we do. Think about how many times we shot so many threes. It would be like, whoa, last season. That's only going to grow as these guys get more comfortable with their shots. I mean, we're going to keep on growing our 3-point range and keep on shooting more and more threes. I get to that point with this team where you start understanding the 3-point shot is more valuable and where it's been in the last 20 years. Like, you got to continue with this shot. You got to continue with what these guys can do in the open shot. So Latvia, like that, their defense is very similar in the aspect of they get in each other's faces. They're very physical, and then you got Serbia, which is the pass, as well. You're going to drive hard, pass the ball. You're going to post up players. You're going to isolate sometimes. It's just a beautiful mix of different techniques of the game.
I've never seen anything like it, bro.
Yeah, and then you got guys that are coming in that I would consider, the camel with no nose. I can't even remember his name, but like, he would go out there. He had like this crazy hairline. Anyways, but he, like, to me, like, when he would go in the game, he would change the game so much. What's up, Unc? That he would change the game so much that it would be like, holy shit. Yeah. Because
it was a before and after level. It was traditional spark plug. We haven't seen a really great one since, like, maybe Jamal Crawford or something, but, like,
so dude, throw that in there with the Thunder.
It was
How
all
many do we
energy, but
have of those guys?
we
We got
have,
so many of
but
those guys.
but
That
okay,
Isaiah Joe,
but
Kenny
here's the thing:
Hustle,
both him and
Jay
Otts were like
Will.
such good shooters,
Yeah.
and that's where like we have elite. But you're talking about we really have one Isaiah Joe,
Yeah.
who
I mean, but
in my
Jay
opinion,
Will.
Jay Will can, but and I'm not saying this in a negative way, but like there's this way of transitioning, like turning a game around with a 3-point shot, and by making plays in the space that creates.
Sure.
Jay Will
Sure.
does it. I'm not saying he doesn't because he
I'm
will
with you.
improve on it.
Yeah.
But like who's elite at it? We have one elite guy off the bench, and
Yeah.
everybody else has a chance. Kenny Hustle. I mean, sometimes he's great, dude. When he starts, he's not always great within those places. Jay Will,
He hustles, baby.
he starts, dude. He's great, but how can he play off the bench? We're not sure yet. You go down the
He'll
list.
be fine off the bench.
We assume.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're right though. You're right.
It's different.
You're right.
It's a different mentality. Like,
yeah. Some people might act like that they'll be all right with not wearing underwear, but then they start wearing no underwear, and then they're like, I can't
handle the chafing, bro.
I get it.
Everybody gets it, dude. It's inherent fact about letting the balls dangle. But here's the thing, dude. What we need to talk about more is the Thunder.
But okay, back to what you were saying about just the comfortable way that Coach D coaches the game, and why I think it would be very smart for Team USA to take notes. Like how do we have a coach, or how do we have a coach that is somebody like Coach D? How do we utilize him in the United States system? Because to me, like he's a perfect example of a coach that learns on the fly against other teams. Like a team like Serbia. I get it. Steve Kerr is a legendary coach, one of the greatest coaches of our generation. But
dude, he made himself look goofy. Like he's like one of those guys, like Bill Belichick, like championship.
My question to you is,
and then it's like,
do you
what
think,
do you do without Tom Brady?
Do you think we lose
without Steph Curry, Steve Kerr?
You think USA loses if Coach D was coach?
You know why I don't think so? Because Coach D understands how to play as an underdog. And there's fundamental things about playing as an underdog that require a mindset shift. And you have to come into it and say, like, we've got to play as a unit.
Yeah.
We have to play our best brand. And if you're not playing within the unit, as a bigger thing than yourself, then we're not going to make it. So I'm going to bench somebody who's maybe more talented than other people.
Okay.
And that's why I think when we saw the best Team USA basketball, it's good. Let's talk about that. Like Austin Reeves, Mikal Bridges. You saw
has he
right. You saw Halliburton out there. You saw like a very unselfish team that could shoot the hell out of the ball. And it didn't necessarily need to play in pick and rolls.
What did you just say though? Well, everybody you just said was under 25, and that's my point. Like that's what we needed on this team more than anything. Like I get it, I understand. And 21 years old for Ant, like it's great if he was the third best player on that team. Like when Paulo was out there doing his thing, it was great to see. Like you needed to go young. You need to go young this time. If you're not going to have a team that can compete, that's going to be like high end, you've got to go young. And I think with the U.S. is what they did was they got content with being the top two North American teams.
Well, they thought that there were
there's two teams.
They thought they were going to fucking moonwalk into the finals,
Woo,
dude.
we got this, baby.
Oh my God. And like history doesn't support that. Like we don't win FIBA easily or world championships easily. The Olympics are a different story in whatever, but it's not a piece of cake.
To me, like when we look at it, and I said this last episode, and I'll reiterate what I said, is that it takes a special person to recognize that third place is not good enough. It takes a special person to recognize that second place is not good enough. It takes a special person to want something so bad that they're willing to do whatever it takes. And I look at Shea and I see that. And anybody that wants to say that you could put this person against this person or this person against that person, I don't care. I don't care who it is in the league. I don't care if you want to say, well, I would trade Shea
What up,
for,
Dave?
yeah, Dave, what's up? I would trade Shea for this player because he's the superstar of the league right now, and he's going to be for the next 3 years or 2 years or whatever. That's cool. Whatever you want to say. You might want to trade him for Luka. I don't give a shit.
Don't give a shit.
Because when it comes down to it, all right, Shea would have never, ever let what happened last season happen to the Oklahoma City Thunder. And that was the Dallas Mavericks tanking at the end of the last year.
It was ugly, bro.
It was the worst thing I've seen in like a long ass time. And I'm sitting there going, but that's Shea, because he wouldn't be content with that. He wouldn't be happy with that. And so when you have somebody with that passion, that desire to just win and dominate, you got to take a step back and you got to enjoy it, because that's when I started recognizing that this team is way better. I wrote Mark this morning. I said, speech for prosperity, like, and the beginning speech, right?
Dude.
Right? I'm willing it,
now?
man. The beginnings. No, I'm not even going to read it now. I'm just going to say it's the beginning speech, right, of when this team wins the championship. I'm going to will it to happen, because to me, it's happening. This team is special. This team is deep. This team is young. When young teams do this, it's everybody always looks at it and says, "Oh, it's a surprise," but it's not a surprise, right? And that's what's special about what's happening right now. This team, at this very point, at this very moment in the history of the game, all right, it's like the 1950s. Okay, go back to the youngest teams that have ever won the championship. All right, Mark, you go back to them and you'll notice in the 1950s, in the 60s, all right, a couple, I think the 1970s, there's one, but is the youngest teams that have ever won. Well, why is that? Why is that the case, Mark?
Why?
It's because the game changed so dramatically in the beginning. It was so crazy. Everybody was young. Everybody was buying in. And that's the revolution that's happening right now. It's truly unfucking godly, bro. And it's going to be crazy.
So you think real shit's about to happen, bro?
Oh, 100% real shit's going to happen. And I think if you take it, what's up, Unk? If
What's
you
up,
take
buddy?
it and you understand and the breakdown of what we saw with Shea, I think that's the key of this all, man. I think Shea brings everything together here. You see the passion, the desire, the want, the need to win. And you know he's not going to be content with 50 wins in a first round exit. You know he's not going to be content with a second round exit. The only way this man's going to be content is by a fucking MVP in a championship, bro. And that's why we got to take a step back and say, is this team ready to truly go this far? Or is this team just playing with us? You tell me, Unk. We can't hear you.
You gotta get that audio turned up. Something happened.
Nope.
No, something about your audio is not working right now, buddy. So while you work that out, Dave, here's what I want to hear from you.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about what you're saying, because I know that you're implying shit that you're not really ready to go there yet.
I'm just saying is that, like, you look back in the history of any sport, whether it's the NFL, whether it's Major League Baseball, whether it's NHL, whether it's any of these sports, man. Like, you look at it, and when there is a young wave that's coming through.
So say what you're not saying.
I think that people need to sit back and recognize that this is going to be the year that the Oklahoma City Thunder are going to make a run for the championship. I think that this is something that you look at Shea and you say, there's not a damn thing that Shea can do right now, right? That's going to make him content with doing anything but winning a championship. And when somebody gets that bug so badly, right? He takes that to every single practice. He takes that to every single game with him. And he creates a fire with the team that's undeniable. And when you have all these other young guys that are starting to understand what Shea can do, and they're starting to believe in themselves as well, guess what happens? It's the belief, man. It's the belief that everybody recognizes that this is the moment. And I think that's what's special right now, is that the more I get closer to the season, the more I saw what I saw out of Shea and FIBA, the more I just recognize that it's here. We don't have to wait for it anymore in Oklahoma City. The moment is now. It just is.
Well, bro, I love it. How's your mic working now, my Unk?
No, we can't hear you. Sorry, man.
Up, buddy. Sorry, it's just not working, buddy. Well, we'll have to text us in the comments there, and we'll stay in touch there.
Just write me a text message when we're done here. All right, we'll figure that out later. All right, guys. Well, we appreciate every single one of you guys for stopping through. I obviously understand that anything I'm saying right now is should be thrown in there with a warning. Don't go gamble on what I'm saying because you'll probably fucking lose. But if I had $100 and I looked at the odds in Oklahoma City to win a championship, I would have a hard time saying right now not to, because that's where it's at. Oklahoma City is it, guys. So
the chip, guys. Dave's saying gamble on it without saying gamble on it.
Don't gamble, but gamble.
All right, guys. We'll see you soon. Peace.